Hello, hello. Great morning to each and every one of you that are coming on in. I am so excited to be here with you all today. It's been a while, it's been about 4 weeks or so. I've been on a rest and rejuvenation, a retreat, just away from just engaging with my community. But I just wanted to take a moment today and just come back and say hello and come back and say, happy summer, all the things. And I trust that you are well. Um, those of you that don't know me, my name is Coach Joyce. Evangelist Joyce, Coach Joyce. Some of you may know me in either one of those spaces. And I love talking about building in this season because, in fact, we are building. We are building the things that God has called us to do. More specifically, the thing that God has placed on your heart is what I'd like to push and conversate around. And so on today, the Lord has really been pressing upon me to talk about our health in that way, and really just kind of really having a heart to heart conversation about the importance of our health and the importance of having stability in our health as we build for the kingdom. I mean, nothing that we do in the earth is for just us, right? It's for those that we are that God is calling us to. It's for us to build the things that God desires for us to be able to be a conduit for in the earth. And so I'm excited about this conversation. It won't be long. I don't want to hold you long. I know it is the lunch hour. I thought it'd be a perfect time to talk about health as we're building. And one of the things that I do know when it comes to building is that when you're in pursuit of things, there's a lot of things that you do have to steward well. And one of the things that is really, really important to steward well is your health, right? How many know that, and welcome those that are coming in on YouTube and Facebook. So glad to have you here. But how many know that without a stable body, a healthy body, I should say, a healthy body, it's going to be a very challenge. It could be a challenge for you to pursue all of what God has called you to do. And one of the things that I think is a needed conversation is the importance of taking care of your temple, taking care of your mind, taking care of your emotional health. All of those things are really important. Your spiritual health are very important as you're building. And I know that it is very easy to be in a position where you are just constantly plowing, you're constantly building, you're constantly sharing, you're constantly putting things together, you're constantly doing all of the things, but then you neglect the very necessary elements and part of you that needs to be sustainable. And that is our body, that is our temple. And so I just want to challenge us in this moment on today to talk about that importance and to talk about what that looks like, right? What does that look like? I know that, if you go on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of these great social media platforms, you will certainly come across health and wellness videos, right? We see them all the time. We see people cooking, we see people engaging with, different things. And we, make it recipes, get encouraged and inspired, but without any structure, right? Without any structure in those things, it's hard to execute them. So the same way that you would execute the business idea that God has given you, or the ministry assignment, or the actual leadership role that you're taking, or whatever God has you building, you have to be in a position to have discipline and to execute. In the same manner, we do need that for our health. We need to know what we need to take. We need to know what types of foods to eat. We need to know what our bodies can handle. Everybody's body is different, right? Everybody's body is made up differently. Everyone's body doesn't consume the same things in the same way. I met once before years ago when I'm saying years ago, not too far ago, when I was doing nutrition coaching. I met someone who could not eat spinach. Right? Is spinach bad for most people? No, actually, it's a great leafy vegetable. But for some reason, she was unable to digest it well. According to her makeup and some of the digestive concerns that she was facing, she couldn't eat it. And so it's important to know what works for you, what works for your body to be optimal, what works for your body to not feel foggy and sluggish and all of these things. We live in a culture in the US, for those that are my international followers, God bless you for being here. But we here in the US, I can speak about us in our country, it is a constant overload of sugar and processed foods. And so, and to top it all off, we live in a culture that's constantly moving, it's constantly fast paced, it's constantly like, I got to get this done, I need to get something quick. I am subject to those thoughts as well. Last week, having clients late, and I didn't get a chance to prep dinner or make dinner. And so I am left to make a decision. We get home late from tutoring or things of that nature. I have to make a decision and say, okay, well, we got to eat. Let's grab something fast. And by no means is this to condemn anybody, but it's building habits, right? We're talking about we're building habits around our life that support where we're going, right? So nobody wants to run a race. I always love giving this analogy about running a race and not finishing. And we need proper strategy around taking care of our temples in order to fully execute and execute in a space where we are really engaged with the process well. We are feeling well in the process, right? As we're building, we are fueled up, we're eating well, and we're consistent and disciplined in that. And so I want to talk to you all about that on today. God bless each of you that are coming in. Let's see. Okay, excellent. Excellent. So I want to talk about that because, without it, and I believe that the enemy uses this area to keep us stagnated, right? To keep us out of position, to keep us weighed down, to keep us, foggy. And so I want to challenge us to really put our health into practice, right? The things that you say we're going to do. I'm going to make this recipe. I'm going to start eating this way. I'm going to start eating clean. I'm going to start eating, more foods that are whole foods, right? Which I agree we all should be doing as kingdom builders, right? As we're building the kingdom, we need to be well. It is very important that our testimony not be someone who is building for God but can't take care of its temple. Right? That can't be our testimony. Come on and just say, I don't want that to be my testimony, right? We don't want to do the things of God, but then not be able to be, healthy or well enough to see them come to pass. And so let's talk about 10 habits, right? I want to just drop these 10 habits here on today. Excuse my background. I usually have a virtual background that did not pop up. I am sorry. I usually don't like to show my office per se, but here it is. There it is. There you go. So I hope that that is okay with you, and we'll move forward here. So 10 health habits of a kingdom builder. I just want to drop this down. I know this is something that may be elementary for some of us, but to be honest, one of the things I realize in coaching is that, it's easy to say, I know how to do that. Like, I already know that. Like, but the question is not about what we know, it's what we do. Right. Because, just like I often say, we can say what we believe in. Right. I can say I believe something, but if I don't demonstrate it, if I don't really think it, that's totally different. Because I can say something that I don't really believe that I'm saying. Right. I can literally have a belief system that's contrary to what I actually execute and do. Right. If I'm sitting around saying I'm on a diet, I'm gonna lose weight, and then I have this conversation about eating, let's just say I want to now get some ice cream. I'm gonna talk about me, right? If I go ahead and say, you know what, and this is the conversation I can have with myself in the morning. Like, I'm going to get up, I'm going to take my vitamins, I'm going to do all these things. And then before the night even comes, I'm already premeditating on another type of conversation that is, contrary to what I was in direction to do. Right. And so that is really important to know. Yeah, we know certain things, but are we executing them? Right. It's important that we execute. So let's talk about the health habits. We're going to start with the number one thing that is so important is our spirit, right? Being able to, take that time to be restored first thing in the morning, and I know, again, many of us will say, I do that already. Yes, that's great. That's wonderful. How can we take that up a notch? How can we really get into a place where we're still enough to really, allow our mind to be renewed and rejuvenated by the Spirit of God? Right. It's really important. And sometimes I'm going to even say this, like, not even sometimes, it's important to make sure that we're in a position to, continuously do that throughout the day, not just leaving it up for the morning. It's time to take it up a notch. We're talking about kingdom builders. I need a refreshing of the Lord right now. I need him to come. I need to sit in his presence. I need to relinquish some things that are on my mind. I need to understand some things. I need to inquire about some things. All of those things add to a healthy spiritual release with the Father, right? Being able to communicate, being able to not hold on to things, right? Not being able to be overloaded. Like, I got this, I can handle it. No, but get into a place where we're at peace. Peace is such a beautiful thing when we're able to sit and be at peace with where we are, because we have, been able to be clear, being able to, communicate, where we are with God, to relinquish the demands of the day, because the day's demands are always going to be there. And so finding that time to be able to sit with God, to sit down and be able to, pray, to worship, to get into praise, having that atmosphere around you soaks your spirit. And we are spirit beings, right? We're spirit beings in a body, and our body literally is needed to house the spirit. Obviously, we're here. And so it's important that our spirit man is rejuvenated and refreshed. So that's number one. Number two, prioritizing your rest, right? And not getting in the habit of staying up to 11, 12 o'clock at night doing building, doing kingdom work. It happens. And I'm not saying, you won't have moments or nights like that, but what would it look like to prioritize your day where you're not overloaded? I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to always have your time stretched out like that, where your sleep is limited, especially if you're not in a position to take naps during the day, if you're not in a position to, have a solid sleep schedule. I think it's important to consider, what, maybe I need to time block my day appropriately. Maybe I need to plan out my time accordingly. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to, put some boundaries up over my time so I can get the things I need to do in that day. And maybe not being, unrealistic with the work that you're holding and carrying. Sometimes, we have things on our to-do list, but we dump it on one or 2 days. No, let's be realistic with our time. Is this really achievable in 2 days? Is this really achievable in a week? Do that analysis, because the less stress you have when it comes to things like that, because it's all a cycle. It's a trigger effect. We're up late. What happens when we're up late, right? We're either eating, thinking about food, grabbing snacks, spiking our insulin, because after we've eaten, every time you eat, you spike your insulin. But it's putting yourself in a position where you're compromised to an off schedule when we don't plan. So planning and prioritizing the kingdom work that you do is really important. Number three, eating to fuel instead of just, eating to fill yourself. It's really, really important that you really get into a place. I'm saying you, but we need to get into a place where we're fueling our bodies properly, and not just with, something that is savory and good and feels good. Now, am I saying that savory things are all bad? No, I'm not saying that at all, actually. Quite the opposite. What I'm saying is that the thoughts of, wanting to be full versus fueled is important. I know when I'm very hungry or famished, it is easy for me to be like, I want to eat, and so I can't eat. like I'm full. But what would it look like for you specifically if you actually say, you know what, let me plan out my food. How much protein do I need? How much fruits and vegetables? We all know half the plate of your, if you don't know, it's suggested to have vegetables at every meal, but then also having vegetables that take up half your plate. One of the big things that I used to struggle with, and even occasionally now, if I'm cooking and eating at the same time, right? That's a big no-no, cooking and then eating, because what we're doing is overeating, right? You're overeating, you're eating more than one serving. Those are the things that are important. And again, I know it could seem, really elementary, but in reality, these are the things that clip us up. These are the things that keep us, in sluggish spaces, because, we're not being mindful of the little things, right? The little things. And that's how self-sabotage comes in. You don't even realize you're sabotaging yourself when you're doing that. You're trying to, execute, and then you wake up, you may be sluggish, you got a headache, or you just off kilter because of the things you've eaten. And one of the things I know, if you're anywhere in the age bracket of me, as you get older, those things don't jive. The things I did in my 20s, I can't do, right? I can't do anymore. And so I think it's important to really, really plan your food out, but looking at food as fuel versus just to get filled, right? This is another one, big one here. Number 4 is hydration. Listen, hydrate. It's important. And this is why it's important as well. Those of you that are building, I'm sure you're like me, where you're fasting a lot of the times. You have consecration days, you fast and things of that nature. It's important that you hydrate. Like, you really just have to do it. Like filling up first thing in the morning, drinking down, doing your best to get the bare minimum, which is 64 ounces. I highly recommend drinking half of your body weight. It keeps you satiated. It keeps you from wanting unnecessary food and snacks, because you're hydrating your body and keeping your body to a place where it is feeling refreshed. It's being able to, handle the load that you are carrying, the things that you're doing. If I know that as builders, we're not always building at a desk. Some of us are building in motion, right? We're building things, and we're physically doing the building. When I say physically building, at locations, organizing things. All of those things are so really, really vitally important. But if you have to take care of this, some of these very, very elementary, but very, very basic and needed things to really, keep our bodies, our temples refined and fresh. Amen. So hydration is key. It's essential to clarity, to energy, building function, physically and mentally, right? Mentally, dehydration. Sometimes you don't even know you're dehydrated. You don't even know you're dehydrated. When I was younger, I used to spring on migraines, and a lot of it was because I was dehydrated. And when you have migraine headaches, for those of you who've had them, it's a major thing. Especially for me, I had to literally go into the emergency room to get injections because nothing would work, along with a few bags of fluid. And that's important. And so when we have hiccups like that, like I'm not saying necessarily migraine, but like not drinking enough, it causes us to not function the way our bodies have been designed to function. All right. So number 5, moving your body with purpose. Come on, let's move our bodies. Not just, going to the gym when you can. No, make it an effort to move your body every day. I have a trail near my house, and I love to go out there and walk. And I do my best to walk every single day. Do I do other workouts? Yes. But walking is good. It's refreshing. It allows you to get the oxygen you need. Even picking up the pace when you walk is great for the heart. All of those things are very, very important, right? Moving your body, and really realizing moving your body is not just walking or just lifting weights. You can be stretching, right? Like literally, stretching at a certain age is essential. I'll just leave it there. So I do my best to try to stretch as much as I can because of my age. But dancing, moving the body, just doing things that you enjoy. Some people I know roller skate, things of that nature. Some people swim because it's low impact on the joints. But those are the things that are really, really good. And especially when you do them purposefully with intention, it really, really, helps your body stay actively engaged with what it has to do. Remember, we are building for the kingdom. And as you're building for the kingdom, we need a stable, sustainable body, right? That when it's time to get up and get moving, when it's time to get up and hit the streets, when it's time to get up and go minister, when it's time to get up and implement a program or whatever the Lord has you doing, you got to be able to move. When it's time to write that book and you have to get up, and sometimes you have to put in a little bit extra hours, having that stability in your body because you're used to moving is important, right? Yeah, and I do recommend too those that sit at home, who sit at home at a desk every day, all day, to go walk for like 5 minutes at the top of every hour. That is very helpful as well. Number 6, guard your mental wellness, right? Listen, I'm all about boundaries, and I think it's really important that we set proper boundaries around us, boundaries around your time, around your communication, your access. Everyone should not have access to you, right? I think that's really important. Being able to have the proper boundaries that keep people, not in a mean way, obviously, but keeping, the proper boundaries where you are communicating where you are and where you need to be with everybody and everything. I think that's really important. I think it's really important, even in your home, like communicating with your spouse, communicating with your children. Mommy has to do this. Honey, I have to take care of this. This is the time frame that I have allotted for this. Is this something I need your support in by, making sure that things are, I'm okay, or whatever, however you communicate, right? I think that those things are really, really important. Number 7, creating consistent routines, right? If you don't have a routine, I admonish you to get one, to have a routine. You need a routine of what you do health-wise. Eating breakfast. I mean, of course, I know many of us fast and consecrate, which I understand. You need to have a schedule for that too, as well. If you're going on a 3-day fast, what does that look like? What does your food schedule look like when it's time to eat? How do you come off of a fast? How do you prepare for a fast? All of these things are important, even in the process of you building, because, and I know that the Lord, does call us into fasting and things of that nature spontaneously. But if you are someone who has, let me just even back up with that thought. If you are a person that's constantly living a life where your health is kept intact because you intentionally take care of it, you intentionally drinking water, you're eating to fuel your body and not to fill it up, then when the Lord does say, my daughter, my son, I need you to fast, your body is already prepared for that. Your spirit's ready, your mind is ready, your mind might not be ready, but you know what I'm saying? Like, your body is already prepared to take on that undertaking, right? And so I think it's really important that we consider that when we are talking about, just being, consistent with a routine, having a routine, having, this is what I'm doing. I'm preparing myself for, the journey the right way. I'm having a schedule. And then also, I have to say this about boundaries, honoring your boundaries, right? If you set a boundary, don't take it down, honor it. Honor that, this boundary is in place to keep me accountable. This boundary is in place to to help me direct my life according to what God wants me to do. Right. I have deadlines to make. I have things I have to take care of that I'm responsible. I don't know about anybody else, but when God calls me to do something, that is serious. It's not a light thing. When God says, I need you to take care of this, I need you to be present, I need you to do these things. It's not like, oh, well, I'm gonna do it tomorrow because I'm a little tired. No, building a momentum in a consistent space or consistent routine in this space will help you to really be effective for God, not for you, right? You are the conduit, of course, but you're being effective to really implement what God has told you to do. And that's so important, being able to honor, what, I'm not doing this because I know what God said, even though I may want to, my flesh may want to, take a nap. Not that I'm against naps. My flesh may want to go and, do something that's outside of my routine. And by no means am I saying be religious with this, but I am saying that what I am saying is that it's important to have some level of accountability to our health, right? I think that that's been really something the Lord's been highlighting in my heart, is being accountable, right? And not expecting, you know, I'm just going to pray my way through and not be accountable for my actions. I mean, that is not a healthy way to take care of yourself, right? Am I saying that if we pray and ask God to heal us, and yes, of course, but there is a due diligence that we have. I mean, there's a due diligence that we have, and I'm not talking about those that have, sicknesses and different ailments. I understand that, and that's a whole nother topic, actually, a whole nother conversation about healing and things of that nature. But what I am talking about is the very what word am I looking for? The elementary, the very basic level of disciplines when it comes to our body. And I heard a preacher recently say, when we can discipline our bodies with food, we can be able to discipline ourselves with anything. Because food is a really, it's all around us, but it's one of the biggest things that really keeps our flesh engaged, our soul engaged with the things of the world when we are engaged with it. So it's a lust of, if you will, right? It can become like a lustful thing, right? Where we're lusting after food and lusting, and we may not look at it like that, but it can be very controlling, right? Literally very, very controlling. You can be thinking about things, your body, your flesh is telling you what it wants to eat before you can even think about it sometimes, right? And so I just think it's really important that we take that into account, that we honor our boundaries based on what we know God is saying to us, and being really mindful of that. And remember, this is all in in a line to being able to be available, ready and available. I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to do all the things that God is calling me to do half-heartedly. I don't want to do all the things that God is calling me to do and I can't see it come to pass. I don't want to do all the things that God is calling me to do, and I can't even really engage with it in its fullness because I'm not in a good health space. And I think this is such a topic that the Lord is really highlighting in this season for builders to be mindful of how they take care of their health. And then track, keep, I think number 9 is tracking, right? Tracking, being able to track what you're able to do, what you're able not to do, and kind of really build from there. I think that is so important, to be able to track, to be able to be really productive with that tracking, understanding how you're producing, how you're showing up. How many walks did I do this week? It really keeps you accountable and engaged. And then also, lastly, staying accountable to the journey, staying accountable, to your temple, to the care of your temple, right? Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, right? And he dwells there, right? And, it's important that we understand, we take into careful consideration that our bodies are needed. I cannot stress it enough. And this is almost like I feel like a call ringing in my spirit of urgency, that we really start taking care of ourselves, taking our vitamins, eating our, different supplements, our minerals, our vegetables and our fruits, lean protein, things of that nature. If you eat protein, or finding protein sources that support your joints and things of that nature. Overall health in general is something that we need to consider as we are building. And so I wanted to drop those on you on today. I know that was a quick live. I only have roughly 30 minutes because I do have to enter into another session, but this was a really, something that the Lord has been placing on my heart, even for me to do more of. And I wanted to share it with you all in my community. I have been, again, I'll say this again, I said this in the beginning, I've been on a retreat over the last 4 weeks, but I am back. If those of you that don't know, I am hosting a challenge, a 5-day challenge. It's free, and it's going to be live in a private Facebook group. If you want more information about it, you please visit the website burdensoblueprint.com, where you can see what the challenge is all about. It is for kingdom builders who are looking to really get clarity and move their the actual challenge is called Blueprint in Motion. So being able to take your blueprint and be able to identify how to move it along in the process. And we'll have a great conversation. It'll be a live challenge starting the week of April 4th. So I hope to see you there. Go ahead and click on or go to theburdentoblueprint.com to get more information about that challenge, and feel free to sign up. Again, it's free. It's going to be beautiful. A lot of ladies in the group building community, which is something that I'm really big on as we continue to build. Listen, I love you all with the love of the Lord. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you next week.